Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. So, Jim, can you explain to people what an NFT actually is? No, seriously, tell me what an NFT is and how you can explain to people what it is and why they are so evil. I don't think you can. Why? Because I've researched this and I'm still not sure I can explain it like people are 5 years old. No wonder people believe they are evil right now. It's easy to do so when people prey on the notion that not many people know what in blazes it even is. For those uninformed about what is going on here, my response to Jim, Stephanie, and Sterling's son-daughter's latest rant is that they once again decided that something capitalism is a bane of the earth, and that unsuspecting people eat it up like they do Jim's affiliation with the equally woke wet culture wrestling thing. Just as people cultaholic about the issues WC has there. And yes, Jim, if you won't respect someone asking you to stop using the buzzword cis, I'm going to make sure you hear me call you woke, since you whined about people using that word to criticize you because you think you are above criticism. According to Jim, the latest round of the controversy about NFTs stemmed from the idea of Square Enix bringing NFTs into the mix of selling physical action figures around Final Fantasy VII and its remake. And yeah, I'm going to ignore Jim's rant about how FF7 predicted big oil going full bore, because how Jim's able to try to throw in so many different arguments to the point that no one can supply the individual with an answer is baffling to me. But if you believe Jim and those ramblings from others, you would think that NFTs and cryptocurrencies were the scum of the earth, and I get it. Some companies do not do a good job at implementing them. Take person who thought it was good to sell that 9/11 thing through Gamestop's NFT marketplace. And yes, Jim outright lies to you by trying to say that GameStop themselves sold this, which was not the case at all. They quickly delisted it once they became aware of the situation. And before I get ahead of myself, yes, I am aware that Rich at ViewTech USA had also commented on that GameStop 9/11 thing, saying that, hey, GameStop had to have known something about who the person who put up that thing was because they had to curate that. Remember that curating does not necessarily mean they knew the person was going to put that up. Just that, hey, they met our expectations and they were legitimate or whatever. They did not know the type of content they were going to put up there. And remember, the guy that put it up there could have just as easily lied straight to GameStop's face as Jim Sterling did to all of you about this situation. And by the way, I sincerely and seriously commend GameStop for taking swift action against this whole situation. Though I would caution GameStop on not taking Reset Era's word for anything. Those people are the real scum of the earth. And there are plenty of things that you can criticize GameStop for, though I believe some people just jump on bandwagons because GameStop mainly does the used game market that has been in the crosshairs of many for years. Be mindful when someone criticizes GameStop and consider what they could actually be advocating against. Is it a business they believe is shady, or is it a practice altogether they believe is abhorrent yet they know nothing about why they're against it? These people want you to think the practice of NFTs itself is evil. They might be true if they knew what the hell an NFT is, but therein lies the problem. Can anybody really explain what an NFT is? I've read through it, and I'm still somewhat lost. But I'll do my best to actually explain this, and I will link to you the place where I got this down below, but I'll do what I can from here. NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens, and they are basically a digital certificate of ownership of something, either something on a digital marketplace or something physical. The idea of someone getting a physical action figure is not something that is entirely new, as actual real estate properties, I'm not kidding, have been said to have been sold this way according to Investopedia. Unlike cryptocurrency, which are fungible, 1 Bitcoin will always equal 1 Bitcoin, each NFT has a specific code applied exclusively to that one thing, and metadata and so on, which means no one NFT is equal to another. Blockchain technology associated with this makes it so a record of who created whatever is being sold, who owns that particular copy of the original item, etc. This would prove that you own that specific copy, and somebody who created it can prove that they are the ones who created it altogether. But as with anything in infancy though, there are many issues with this. I'm not too keen about its environmental impacts, I'm not quite sure about that, though there are some sources out there that will tell you more about those ramifications. Just be sure you are looking outside the mainstream for that information, as I'm going to tell you in a moment what could really be going on and why some want you scared of NFTs and cryptocurrencies, as there is not too much info as to how they are environmentally dangerous. The other, like any transaction, the idea of fraud and pyramid schemes can come into play, and there's no certificate of value to what you bought. But that's the thing with all products you buy, that can deprecate in value and increase over time. All in all, there are risks that come with this newfound technology. There are many pros that come with the cons. You reap the rewards, and risk can equal some rewards as well. Prove you have ownership of a particular copy of a product, and someone can prove that they made the piece of art and will always be able to be traced back to the origins of that one thing. So why are people like Jim Sterling and some others of social media and the Twitch sphere who are too cowardly to even say the letters NFT one after the other without putting some space or slash between the three letters as if they does anything? Like to do certain other terms, or even Twitch streamers that they don't like they did with Asmongold some time ago against this? Why are they trying to tell you how evil these are, while at the same time hoping you never do your own research to find out what exactly they are in the first place? Which, by the way, is a good indication as to why you should and why they cringe whenever someone else like myself, someone who wants you to go search beyond the Beltway, uses that phrase. Well, there's another thing about NFTs and cryptocurrency that they don't like. To do this, I want to bring up a particular situation a friend of mine ran into. She wanted to get a new avatar made for her channel, and wanted that same artist that did her previous icon to do the new one, and she wanted to compensate the artist for doing so like she did before. But one problem persisted which prevented her from giving the artist a compensation. Guess where the artist lived? Russia. Yep, it was because right now every company decided that because their government decided to invade in our country, that Russia's people were at fault, and punished them by restricting them from accessing things that they would let them live a normal life, because they somehow thought they all agreed with their dictator-like prime minister. So my friend couldn't get any kind of compensation to the artist. Now, they did find another way around the sanctions to do the transaction. But what if there was a way to get past that sanction? Something the government couldn't go in and block someone from getting. Another example is something everyone is more familiar with: the Freedom Convoy in Canada. The freezing of assets to try to silence them was something that not many liked, even if you disagreed with their message. The answer and the way around it, though? Cryptocurrency. Why? The same thing that NFT would do to solve the issue my friend has, and the same thing that worries the people like Jim and the establishment. There's no federal oversight, no way to regulate it, at least not currently. They can establish a direct link from one person to another. No middleman is able to get in the way. If my friend were to do the exchange via Bitcoin and NFTs, there is a huge chance, not a guarantee, but a huge chance that not only would the transaction happen, but there would be no way for anyone to regulate that or say it can't happen, because there's no way for them to know it even did happen. In other words, no way to freeze the assets of Bitcoin, no way to stop anyone getting NFTs through the ways of sanctions. If you noticed, no one cared about crypto until they realized that people were using it to donate to the Freedom Convoy. Right after, every mainstream media outlet, especially people like NBC and some people on Kotaku and Polygon, had a way to say that they were somehow evil without any indication to say why it was or why you had to fear it. And therein lies the rub. Those in the establishment gaming press, to which Jim is now a part of since the individual very clearly sold out years ago, have a vested interest to make sure they smear these practices so they can then virtue signal and keep those that have a political issue with from getting what they need to run the counter narratives. Oh, I forgot, I'm not allowed to say virtue signal because it somehow triggers Jim as well. Now, I'm not supportive of what the Russian army did at all, who would be, but at the same time, I don't want some individual artist to be punished for what her government did. How is she at fault for that? How is she at fault for what some madman tried to do to invade another country? Given that that invaded country were somehow completely innocent themselves, they're not, but that's for another video. But that establishment media and the establishment themselves, they don't want you to be able to get that direct link to their political opponents. Cryptocurrencies and NFTs are a way for companies to not have to worry about the government oversight if they should want to let someone who is affected by those sanctions by virtue of association association through no fault of their own, and with no way to escape that country or oppression, to be able to complete transactions they would not be able to do so by traditional means. They're scared of the technology. Yes, there are dangers as with anything else, I'm not denying that. But before you believe a person who decides to not say anything about the questionable people said person hangs with, that still gets away with using CNF bombs on their channel without consequence when YouTube would demonetize anyone else who did the exact same thing, or some establishment gaming website like Kotaku or The Verge, go do your own research, there's that line again, Jim, triggered yet? And find out why those people were saying that. I'm not saying that any of these things are perfect, or that there aren't any kinks that need to be ironed out in order for them to have some traction, or to be the wave of the future, but the difference in what I'm saying versus what others are saying are like night and day. I will be honest with you, I will be upfront with you, and I will say what is the truth, to the best of my ability. They, on the other hand, are not being completely honest with you about their real intentions. Are they truly worried about the possibility of fraud, or are they just worried that they provide access for you to give goods or money to their political opponents they have tried to silence with shady tactics and overreach? After all, Jim, in this very video, looked right into your face and lied to you about who was truly responsible for that GameStop 9/11 thing. The individual did not even flinch when they said that. If the individual was willing to do that, imagine the possibility that they were lies into what was said about the SE president's letter. Did it really say what Jim claimed it said? Go read it. Be a judge. Jim lies about many other things too, and conflates things to make everything into a political angle that the individual is way too militant on. No wonder Jim loses subscribers. And Jim is also lying about why they're losing them too. Why isn't it a possibility that Jim is lying about the true intentions of the crypto and NFT rants too? Simply put, maybe Jim has taken control of Shinra Inc. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Only while President Shinra was the one who was doing sleazy tactics to get what he wanted, when he was killed, Rufus, who was much more direct in his methods, took it over and became much more about outright silencing opposition by any means necessary. People that Jim is claiming to be against are the President Shinras of the world, in the individual's eyes. Jim, though, has become Rufus, just replacing killing the opposition with outright silencing them through fear and intimidation. Maybe Jim has a new name, Rufus Sterling. Seems fitting, doesn't it? And no, Jim's definitely Rufus Sterling, probably still doesn't know what an NFT is. But Rufus is going to go against it. Maybe Rufus believes in Russiagate too. I'm Jitty Shadow. That just happened.